My name is Bruno Fierens. I'm working at TMS Software. We are based in Belgium, and we have been doing component development for Delphi C++ Builder for the past 16 years. Today, well, first of all, some information in case you didn't know yet where to find us. The website, but some additional stuff. We are on Twitter and we are on Facebook, and there we add some information, let's say pre-announcements, things we are busy with in development, etc. So if you want to stay in the loop and stay in touch with everything that we are developing right now, that is some additional information to the website where only, let's say, the official released stuff will appear. So today, the presentation is about creating web applications with VCL for the web platform, web applications that are specifically targeted at mobile devices. The content of this presentation will go about, first of all, what's important in general when using a framework like VCL for the web to create mobile web applications. And secondly, we'll deal with components we have created specifically targeted at creating this kind of application. So to focus your mind, I have this little page here that describes a little bit the components that we will show today. Maybe if you can pass on these papers to the other people. Some small remark in advance is you see the little yellow box on the bottom of the page, and it says that the discount offer ends on September the 30th. I have especially asked the salesperson to extend that offer to 1 November so that you still have the opportunity to take advantage of it. Okay, so a little bit a summary of the content of today. First of all, why would we create mobile web applications? What is the current state of the technology of today of the browsers that you can find in mobile devices? There are different mobile devices, so you would want to send different content to different devices, so we will have a look at how we can deal with that. A very important part in general, whether you use our components or actually even if you're using other frameworks than IntraWeb, something extremely important is the asynchronous behavior. And then in the second part, we will move to having a closer look at our components and what specifically we have added in functionality that to optimize the experience of creating a mobile web application. So first of all, why in the first place would we want to create a mobile web application? As you have seen with FireMonkey, you can create applications that you target to iOS, to your mobile iPhone, iPad. In the future, there might be also Android coming, so that's an interesting option, of course. Why would you want to create mobile web applications? There are several reasons and advantages. So it will really depend on your needs, your situation. If you consider this as the choice for your case, or if you perhaps consider another technology as the choice for your case. I'm only trying to highlight some things that can be an important factor in deciding, okay, let's go for a mobile web application. So first point is evidently to leverage your Delphi skills. Building a mobile web application with the IntraWeb framework allows you to fully leverage your Delphi skills that you know for, who knows, already 16 years. Not only that, you can If you have, for example, a Windows application where you have a good separation of your business logic and your user interface, you could, for example, reuse that business logic and just put a web front end on top of it. So the reusability is something important there. No deployment, it's a web application, so evidently you do not need to deploy the application to the actual mobile device. Most important here is that if you do updates, fixes, add features, etc., all these things happen server-side, so you do not have to bother your users to install updates, etc., which are always coming with deployed applications. No Apple approval needed. As you will know, Apple is still, for the Apple devices, they still have the power to accept or reject your application. So they have a look at it. They have different criteria to either accept or not accept your application. There's first of all some technical acceptance, and secondly there's also content-based acceptance. So Apple decides we allow this type of content, yes or no, or technically if you do not follow all the rules, they can reject it. If you go mobile with a mobile web application, whatever content, whatever user interface, whatever you put in your application, you are in full control, and no one will prevent you from sharing your application with the users that you have. There's also no Apple tax to pay. I call it the Apple tax. So even if you create a FireMonkey application, or if you go to the Android market, there is a digital signature that you need to add in your applications. The cost for Apple is $99 per year. It's not a huge cost, but still, it's a yearly cost that you have just for having the ability to submit something to the App Store. With a mobile web application, no one will ask you this kind of tax. Another advantage is that you can target multiple devices with the same source code, with the same app. So currently, this fly is really annoying. So the state of today is that if you want to create an application for iOS, one for Android, perhaps one for BlackBerry, Nokia devices, whatever other devices exist, Windows Phone 7, for example, the state of today is, okay, we need to create separate applications for each target group. With a mobile web application, that problem does not exist. You create one app and everyone on whatever device can use it. And last thing is, many people say that, okay, for a mobile web application you need an internet connection, which is true, of course, otherwise your application will not work. If you look at an overwhelming majority of applications today on mobile devices, they use an internet connection anyway. I give an example, Twitter, your Twitter application on your mobile phone, your Twitter application on the mobile phone is useless if you do not have an internet connection, because the key of the application is the tweets that are coming in or the tweets that you send to the server. So you have a communication anyway. If you create a mobile web application, typically your data will be in the same server or the same group of servers hosting your application. So your data is, let's say, near the application. So the communication to get the data, etc., is happening all server-side, and you just send the content to the mobile browser. So big question is, what is the state of the mobile web browsers today? And there are mainly, well, here you would have the impression there are two categories. I would say, let's say, three categories. The first category that I will not talk about is old stuff, old crap. These are browsers in devices that are 5 years old, etc., and which I think are not worth mentioning because they have very, very limited support. Then 2 categories of modern browsers remain, which are browsers that are based on the WebKit engine, and Microsoft is an exception here, is let's say the only one in a different position. Their Windows Phone 7 and also their older Windows mobile devices, Pocket PC devices, they use the Internet Explorer engine. So it's important to know that if you target mobile devices today, you're mainly looking at 2 engines. WebKit engine one side, majority, overwhelming majority, and Internet Explorer engine on the other side. I don't know how many of you have a Windows Phone 7. Okay, you know friends who have a Windows Phone 7? Okay, that gives an indication how relevant Windows Phone 7 is today. You know people who have Android devices? You know people who have iOS, iPhone, iPad? Everyone knows it or has it, I think. So the WebKit engine, it's the same engine that is used in Android, in iPhone, now also in newer BlackBerry devices, in Nokia devices, except of course the new Nokias where they, let's say, bowed to Microsoft and say, give us your software because we are not able to write the software ourselves. But the other operating systems that Nokia used, also the newer devices also use the WebKit engine. Actually, the WebKit engine is also sitting at the heart of the Safari and the Chrome desktop browsers. They are not 100% identical, but it's also at the heart. This was an article that I thought was interesting. That appeared in May, I believe, this year, saying that this WebKit engine was really the catalyst to drive HTML5 acceptance. Nowadays, everyone is talking about HTML5. It's like HTML5 is the new hype, and if your app is not using HTML5, it's old, etc., and blah, blah, blah. But the WebKit engine was actually one of the first engines really driving the new capabilities that are part of HTML5. So the big question is, what is this WebKit browser engine actually offering that is interesting, that we can take advantage of to optimize our web applications for mobile devices? As I mentioned, HTML5 support, very important. One part that I particularly like about HTML5, I don't know how many of you have experience with HTML5, have used HTML5? Okay. One thing that I particularly like is the canvas in HTML5. So you can draw whatever that you want with JavaScript code on the canvas, and that gives you some extra capabilities. I will show you in our controls how we took advantage of that to create user interfaces with minimal bandwidth use and user interfaces that really have a look and feel that is near identical to the native operating system level defined controls. So HTML5, CSS3 support is very important. Geolocation, all these new mobile phones, these tablets, etc., have a GPS. So we can also take advantage of it because the WebKit browser engine exposes access to this GPS device. We will also have a look in a moment at how we can take advantage of that. Touch events, of course, your mobile phone is all touch-based. No one is using a mouse with a cell phone or a tablet. And that means that there is some particular different interaction with touch than with the mouse. And the WebKit engine also exposes that you can take advantage of these touch-based events. Local storage, also part of HTML5, means that you have a way from JavaScript to store some data locally on the mobile device. These are things that you can take advantage of in case that, for example, you lose your internet connection or you're temporarily disconnected. You have a way to, okay, we are not losing anything here. You can temporarily save something or restore something. It can be something convenient. There are specific CSS attributes. These are attributes to control appearance of HTML elements and to control it in a way that you make your HTML elements look like the native operating system defined controls. We will also see that in a moment how this is applied in our controls, for example. Rotation, most of these mobile devices, if you hold them this way or this way, the screen rotates, the screen is portrait or landscape and can differ. So we have to catch that to, for example, adapt our user interface if the user is holding it landscape or portrait. Finally, for the Apple devices, something that is very convenient is that we know in advance what the size of the screens will be. There are two categories, either it's iPhone or iPod, or it's iPad. And all iPads have the same resolution, all iPhone, iPods have the same resolution. So we know in advance, if we create our user interface, how it will fit on the screen for the user, and we can really optimize it, fine-tune it, to give the user the best possible experience. I assume that you have all opened websites with a mobile device, and I assume that you have all had this experience that you zoom till you see part of the screen and then zoom back because you're missing the content there, and it gets cumbersome, this experience. Unfortunately, Android devices, they have the same problem, that different Android devices have different screen resolutions. So 100% fine-tuning in advance your user interface for specific screen sizes is not possible, unless you target only Apple, of course. Tablets and phones are typically the main different devices. Tablet has a much bigger screen than your phone, so you will typically want to send a different content, different user interface to a tablet than to a phone, just for the sake of avoiding that your user has to zoom in, zoom out, loses part of the screen, etc. So if you want to offer your user an optimum user interface for an iPhone or Android phone, and on the other side an optimum interface for whatever tablet, you could create two different user interfaces for your app, and then it's a question of, okay, detect what device the user is connecting to our app with, and send automatically the appropriate content to either iPad, iPhone, or even a desktop browser. Nothing prevents you from the same web server application to target desktop browser, mobile phone, or tablet. First of all, we are going to have a look at how we can deal with this from IntraWeb to send this specific content to a specific device. So let's open a project. How many are familiar with IntraWeb development in the room? So that's almost everyone. For those who are not familiar with it, it's like a VCL Windows application. You have your form, you have controls, you have properties on controls, you have event on the controls, you deal with the events, you set properties of controls. So it's the same rat mechanism